Karen Francisco. I am Joshua Aaron.
Good day everyone, my name is Mark Karen Francisco and I will be discussing about Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic theory. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, believed that human behavior is driven by unconscious motives and early childhood experience. His psychoanalytic theory explained how our personality is formed through inner conflict between our instinct, moral values, and reality. Freud divided the minds into three levels: the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious, and described three parts of personality: the id, ego, and superego. These are the main concepts of psychoanalytic theory. The first one, we have level of consciousness, the iceberg model. So, in iceberg, we have the conscious level, pre-conscious level, and unconscious level. So, the conscious level, it is the thoughts and feelings we are aware of. For an example, when a student say they are nervous in tests, so that's a conscious level. So what about the preconscious? The preconscious level, memories and experience that can be recalled when needed, like remembering how to solve a math problem. So lastly, we have the unconscious level. So the unconscious level means deep desires, fears, and conflict that influence behavior without awareness. For an example, unexplained fear or anxiety. Freud model, the conscious mind is just a tip on an iceberg, while unconscious is hidden beneath the surface but strongly influence behavior. So the second concept, we have the three parts of personality, which is the id, ego, and superego. So the id, the primitive part that seek pleasure and immediate satisfaction of needs. Example, I want it now. For an example, a child shouting when not getting candy. That's an id. So the ego. The ego is the rational part of mediates between desire and reality. Or I can't get it now, but maybe later. It helps make realistic and socially acceptable decisions. So lastly, we have the superego. Superego, the moral consciousness formed by parents and society. Or it's wrong to do that. Just like that. It helps us follow rules and values. So a healthy personality results when the ego maintain balance between the id and superego. To our third main concept. So, psychosexual stages of development, Sigmund Freud believed personality develop through stages based on pleasure-seeking energies or libido, focus on different body parts. So we have the oral stage or birth, 1 year. Focus on the mouth, feeding, sucking. If needs are not met properly, the child may grow to dependent or overly talkative. Second, the anal stage, the age of 1 to 3. Focus on bowel and bladder control. Too strict toilet training may lead to an overly controlling personality. Too lenient may lead to messiness. So third, we have the phallic stage, in the age of 3 years old to 6. It focuses on the genital awareness of gender roles, children identity with their same-sex parents. We have the latency stage. 6 to puberty. Sexual impulses are inactive. Children focus on learning social skills and friendship. And lastly, we have the genital stage. Puberty to adulthood. It is here the sexual maturity develop and individuals seek healthy relationship. Application of teaching. Number 1, we have understanding students' behavior. Teachers can recognize that behavior can often has unconscious causes. As students who misbehave or withdraw may be reaching to unresolved emotional needs of family issue. Example, a student showing aggression might be expressing frustration from unmet family, emotional security in home. So second, we have importance of early childhood experience. Freud emphasized that early experience shape personality. In teaching this means that preschool and early grade teacher plays a vital role in providing consistent care, affection, and structure to form secure, confident learner. So the third one, we have developing emotional awareness teachers. Can be students become aware of their feelings through journaling, art, or counseling session, promoting emotional intelligence and self-expression. Fourth, we have the role of guidance and counseling. Freud Talking Cure highlight the importance of communication. Teachers can be collaborate with guidance counselor to help students express hidden feeling, safety, and develop coping strategies. 5. Balancing discipline and empathy. Just as ego balances the id and superego, teachers should balance enforcing classroom rule with understanding each student's emotional and psychological needs. Freud's psychoanalytic theory teaches educators that behavior has deeper roots than what appears on the surface. Teaching who understand emotional development can better support students' mental well-being, create emotionally safe classroom, and help learners develop both academic and personal growth.
Good day everyone. I'm Isaac Bento Dalawis, and today I'll be discussing the Jean Piaget's stages of cognitive development. 2 years old, babies learn about the world through their senses and actions like touching, tasting, seeing, hearing, and moving. A big achievement during this stage is understanding object permanence, which means knowing that an object still exists even when you can see it. In this earliest stage, babies are active learners, functioning much like the little scientists who explore the world directly through their senses and actions. They learn by looking intently at objects, listening to sounds, touching different textures, grasping items, and even tasting things to understand their properties. A key achievement is developing object permanence, meaning they start to realize that things continue to exist even when they are out of sight. This is why peekaboo is so fascinating. Furthermore, as they become more familiar with their immediate caregivers, babies start to differentiate between familiar people and strangers, often leading to stranger anxiety, where they may become cautious or upset when approached by someone they don't recognize, highlighting their growing awareness and understanding of their social environment. Use symbols like words and pictures to represent things. They also engage in pretend play. However, their thinking is still very intuitive and not always logical. As children transition into the pre-operational stage, they begin to use symbols like words, image, and drawings to represent the world around them, marking a significant leap in their cognitive abilities. During this stage, make-believe play becomes a central activity, allowing children to act out scenarios, use their imagination, and develop creative storytelling skills. Despite these advances, their thinking tends to be intuitive and less logical, and they often struggle with egocentrism, where they find it difficult to see situations from another person's perspective and may assume that everyone shares their thoughts and feelings. Kids in this stage can think more logically about concrete events and objects. They understand concepts like conversation, that the amount of something stays the same even if its appearance changes, and reversibility, that action can be undone. In this stage, children's thinking become more logical and organized, but the reasoning is primarily limited to concrete or real-world situations. A significant development is their ability to understand conversation, which enables them to recognize that properties like volume, mass, and number remains constant despite changes in appearance. They also grasp the concept of reversibility, realizing that action can be undone or reversed, like understanding that water can be frozen to make ice and then melted back to water. Furthermore, children in this age learn to classify objects into different categories and understand hierarchical relationships, such as recognizing that a dog is both a dog and an animal, showcasing their growing capacity for logical thinking and problem solving within concrete contexts. As teenagers who start to think abstractly and hypothetically, you can consider different possibilities and use logic to solve problems. This stage also allows for more mature moral reasoning. As teenagers enter the formal operational stage, they develop the capacity for abstract thought and hypothetical reasoning, enabling them to think about possibilities and explore complex ideas beyond the realm of concrete experiences. They can now engage in abstract logic, allowing them to understand and manipulate concepts that are not tangible or visible, such as algebra or theoretical physics. They also master hypothetical deductive reasoning, which involves forming hypotheses, designing experiments to test them, and drawing conclusions based on results, much like a scientist conducting research. Moreover, adolescence begins to grapple with moral and ethical dilemmas, developing their own values and beliefs, and considering different perspectives on issues like justice, fairness, and human rights, demonstrating a newfound ability to think critically and make informed decisions about complex social and philosophical questions.
Good day everyone, I'm Sajid Fernandez Bayon and today I'll be discussing one of the most influential theories in child and adolescent development, Lev Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of learning. This theory focuses on how social interaction and culture plays a major role in how children learn and develop. But first, who is Lev Vygotsky? So Lev Vygotsky was a Russian psychologist born in 1896. He believed that children do not develop in isolation. Instead, their learning is deeply influenced by the people, language, and culture around them. The history reminds us that learning is a social process, not just an individual one. So the main idea of this story is, according to Vygotsky, children learn best when they interact with more knowledgeable others, such as teachers, parents, or even classmates. So through this interaction, they gain new knowledge and skills that they couldn't acquire on their own. And also, he introduced the two very important concepts, which are the zone of proximal development, the ZPD, and the scaffolding. When we talk about the zone of proximal development or the ZPD, it refers to the gap between what a child can do independently and what they can do with guidance and support. Just like, for example, a student may not know how to solve math problem alone, but without teacher's help, they can succeed. So that is learning within the ZPD or the zone of proximal development. Scaffolding, on the other hand, means the temporary support provided by a teacher or peer to help the learner accomplish a task. As the learner becomes capable, this support is gradually removed, just like scaffolding in a building. So, application in classroom. So, in the context of classroom or in the context of education, Vygotsky theories encourages collaboration learning. So, students working together, sharing ideas, and helping each other. And also, teachers act as facilitator rather than just information giver. Some examples include group discussions and peer tutoring, using guide questions to lead students toward understanding. And lastly, encouraging dialogue and using language as a learning tool. So these strategies help students learn more effectively through interaction, communication, and cooperation. So to conclude, Lev Vygotsky's sociocultural theory reminds us that learning is not just about intelligence, it's all about interaction. Children grow and learn better when they are supported by others and when their culture and environment are valued. So as a future educator, we must remember to guide, support, and connect with our learners because every child, every student learn best when learning together. So that's all. Thank you.
So, hi, I am Joshua Arvachea, and today I'll be discussing the topic about Erik Erikson psychosocial development. So, Erik Erikson psychosocial theory, the theory of psychosocial development by Erik Erikson, and includes 8 stages of personality development. At each stage, a person faces a certain conflict and as a result, develops a particular quality or skill. So the first stage is infant to 18 months. The psychosocial crisis gained is trust versus mistrust. The virtue developed is hope, and the application is nurture and care the child during pregnancy. The next stage is 18 to 3 years old. The psychosocial crisis gained is autonomy versus shame or doubt. The virtue developed is will. The application is guide the child gradually and firmly during childhood. So the next stage is 3 to 5 years old. The psychosocial crisis gained here is initiative versus guilt. And the virtue developed is purpose. And the application is support the child initiative and help him achieve goals. So the next stage is 5 to 15 years old. The psychosocial crisis gain is industry versus inferiority. The virtue developed is competency. And the application is help the child try new things. So the next stage of the psychosocial development is 13 to 21 years old. The psychosocial crisis gained here is identity versus confusion. So the virtue developed is fidelity, and the application is help him discover his identity. So the next stage is 21 to 39 years old. The psychosocial crisis gained was intimacy versus isolation. And the virtue gained here is love. So the application on it is connect with others physically and emotionally. So the next stage is 40 to 65 years old. So the psychosocial crisis gained is generative and stagnation. And the virtue developed is care, and the application here is contribute to your family. So the last but not the least stage is 65 years old and above. So the psychosocial crisis gained here is integrity versus despair, and the virtue developed is wisdom. So the application on this is accept success and failures. So that's all about my Erik Erikson psychosocial development topic, and my topic discussed the 8 stages, which are infant to 18 years old, 18 years old to 3 years, 3 years to 5 years old, 5 years old to 13 years, and 13 years to 21 years old, and then 21 to 39, and 40 to 65 years old, and last but not the least, 65 years old and above. So that's all. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ida Shane Hualan. Today I'm going to tackle about the Lawrence Kohlberg stage of moral development. So Kohlberg's theory of moral development postulates that moral reasoning passes through 6 stages from early childhood to adulthood. So Kohlberg's stages are sorted into 3 levels, which is the pre-conventional morality, conventional morality, and post-conventional morality. Each of these stages involves a more advanced level of reasoning that coincides with cognitive development and life experiences. So the focus of Florence Kohlberg's theory of moral development is on how reasoning, their way of thinking about what is right and wrong, changes and becomes more mature over time. So let's start in level 1, the pre-conventional morality. It includes the obedience, punishments, and orientations, and individualism and exchange. So in stage 1, the obedience, punishment, orientation focus on avoiding punishment. For example, is a person follows rules only because they don't want to get in trouble. Number 2 is the individualism and exchange. It focuses on self-interest and reward. For example, is people act based on what they'll get out of it. Like for example, they will do something because they're expecting of something in return, like reward. So let's proceed to level 2, which is the conventional morality. It includes the stage 3 and stage 4. Stage 3, which is the establishing interpersonal relationship. It focuses on gaining approval and being seen as good. For example, is a person behave nicely to please others or to be liked. In stage 4, maintaining social orders, it focuses on following rules to keep society orderly. For example, is a person believes it important to obey authority and maintain law and orders. So lastly, we have this level 3, which is the post-conventional morality. It includes the stage 5 and stage 6. Stage 5, which is the social contract and individual rights. It focuses on fairness, justice, and human rights. And lastly, the universal principles, which is the stage 6 of level 3. It focuses on moral principles and conscience. For example, is a person's acts according to their own deeply held ethical beliefs, even they conflict with laws. So even though both act kindly, their reasoning is different, and that difference is what Kohlberg's theory focuses on. So in short, Kohlberg's theory focuses on how people think about moral choices, not just what choice they made, showing that morality develops like intelligence, step by step as we grow and gain experiences. So in conclusion, the theory emphasizes that morality is not just about following rule or laws, but about why people choose to follow or break them. The motivation behind and decision shows a person's level of moral development. And that's all for my topic. By the way, my name is Irashine de los Reyes Cuela from DSED English 1A.
Again, I am Mark Darren Francisco, and I will be discussing about Yuri Bronfenbrenner ecological system theory. So, Yuri Bronfenbrenner introduced the ecological system theory, which explains that child's develop in influence by different layers of environment, from immediate family and school to a larger society and culture. He believed that to truly understand a child, we must look at the entire system surrounding them. So, these are the 5 environmental systems. The first one, we have the microsystem, or the immediate environment. This includes the people and the setting the child interact with directly, such as family, teachers, classmates, and school. In teaching, teachers play a key role in the system. A supportive classroom environment and positive teacher-students relationship directly shape learning and motivation. Second, we have the mesosystem, the connection between microsystem. So, it refers to the interaction between child different environment. For example, how family life affects school performance. So in teaching, communication between teacher and parents is vital. When teachers and families work together, students receive consistent guidance and support both at home and school. Third, we have the ecosystem or indirect environment. This includes settings that indirectly affect the child, such as parents' workplace, school policies, or community service. So in teaching, teachers should understand how factors like parents' work schedule or lack of sources affect child's learning. School can offer flexibility and connect family with assistance program. So, fourth, we have the macro system, the cultural and social influence. So, the outcomes layer So fourth, we have the macro system. So cultural and societal influence. The outmost layer that includes cultural values, laws, beliefs, and tradition. In teaching, teachers must respect cultural diversity and integrate inclusive practices. Understanding cultural backgrounds helps teachers avoid biases and make learning relevant for students' lives. Lastly, the chrono system, the dimension of time. This involves changes and transitions over time, such as divorce, relocation, historical event like the pandemic. In teaching, teachers should provide emotional and academic support during transition, recognizing how major his life changes impact students' learning and behavior. So let's proceed to application in teaching. So the first one we have promote homeschool collaboration. So teachers can strengthen the meso system by regularly communicating with parents and guardians, conducting home visit or using parents-teacher conference to align goals. Second, consider students' background. So understanding the exosystem and the macro system help teachers recognize the influence of social and cultural contexts. This lead of more compassion and fair teaching practices. So the third one, we have create a supportive learning environment. A positive microsystem in the classroom promote engagement, cooperation, emotional safety. Teachers should model kindness and respect. And the fourth one, address environmental challenges. So teachers can coordinate with school counselors or community organization when families face financial or emotional difficulties, ensuring every child receives support. So lastly, adapt to change. The chrono system reminds teachers to be flexible and responsive to change in students' lives. For example, offering emotional and check-ins after major event. So overall, Bronfenbrenner ecological system theory reminds teachers that a child is influenced by their total environment, not just what happened inside the classroom. By working with families, communities, and school, educator can create a holistic learning environment that nurtures every aspect of child's growth. That's all. Thank you.